Hello everyone, good morning. It's lovely to be here. So, I've actually forgotten the real title of the topic, but it was something to do with measuring resistance in an organization in the context of business agility and what is it that coaches can do about it. So, it was about a month since we met previously, and this whole thing got muddled in my mind. It became fuzzy before it began to emerge with some degree of clarity. So I was thinking about how this session should go, and I realized that I'm amidst a lot of coaches. So how many people are actively coaching? Okay. And others, I'm assuming, are employed in some way, shape or form, or are entrepreneurs or something, right? So I believe everybody can contribute something to this session. So I intend to make it interactive, and at the end of it, what I'm hoping one of the outcomes will be is some degree of shared learning, and one thing which I'm hoping we could see how we could, look at it as a long-term OKR, for the lack of a better phrase, if people are familiar with OKRs. Although there's no objective here, if we were to say that we're all okay with taking the objective as how can coaches measure the resistance of an organization and what is it that they can do about it, is that something that we can sort of plant a seed about today, talk about it, talk around it, and then perhaps in subsequent meetings, as we work through our daily jobs, see what it is that we can bring to the table. So who knows, at the end of it, it could be a white paper, it could be an experiential thing, it could be a collection of case studies. I really don't know how it could take shape, okay? So what I would invite everyone to do right now, just to sort of get ourselves into this forum, if we can all close our eyes for a minute. Priyank, could you start a stopwatch for 1 minute, and then we'll get started. Okay, just to bring ourselves into this particular discussion. So whenever you're ready. Okay, so everyone close your eyes, we'll start. Thank you. All right. So, where do we start? Thought we'll check with people. What does resistance mean to you?
Unwilling to change.
Unwilling to change. Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Finding reasons to, not.
Excuses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuses.
Nice one. Anything else?
Blocking some of the changes being done purposefully.
Blocking changes. Okay. Can I say blocking change?
Purposefully. I know something has to be changed, but neither I change nor allow others to change.
Okay.
Not accepting. Not accepting.
Not accepting. Okay. Can it be blocking? Could be unpurposefully, unconsciously also, right? Okay.
Also not willing to let go of the old world. Doesn't accept reality.
Nice. Very nice.
Always finding the fault, not suggesting you improve it.
Okay.
And I think we're all
Fault
probably,
finding, not suggesting improvement.
and probably focusing a little bit too much on the negative, but maybe they don't understand why they're there. That's also a fact, right? So they don't understand what is there.
Not open.
Yeah.
Not open to getting awareness around what it is. Have a mindset that it won't work.
Okay, I'm living in my own bubble. Okay.
I can put it as comfortable. Always staying in a comfortable zone, not exploring the world.
Okay.
It's a mindset.
I believe it's a state of being thoughtful and insecure at the same time.
Sorry?
It's a state of being thoughtful and insecure at the same time.
Insecure.
So state of insecure and insecure at the same time.
Thoughtful and insecure. So I know that if I don't change, something will happen, but I'm resisting that change because of A, B, C, D.
You are new people to me. Right now.
I'm worried about something.
I'm saying, yeah, you're all are new people. I'm right now thoughtful, but I'm also resisting myself or insecure about, can I open up just the way how I am or something. There's a resistance out there. Over the course when we all will warm up, possibly the resistance will not be there anymore.
Okay, so is it possible that you're bringing your own something, your fears, your bias, your insecurity, your whatever it might be, and that is causing resistance? Okay.
Fear and insecurity as this resistance. Also giving up to their own insecurity.
It could be pure laziness. But no one.
Lovely point. Okay. Complacent?
Losing command and control.
Fear of losing control.
Fear of, okay, wow. Okay.
Unable to learn because agile change agents are continuous learners. They don't want to learn new.
So, can we say a fixed mindset? Okay. This is a fabulous collection. I think it covers like 50% of what I had. Yeah.
Desire to perpetuate the present comfort zone.
Okay, so desire to keep the state as is as long as possible.
Till I reach a yield point where it's only possible to. And then
Okay.
we are
Pushing till the tipping point.
Okay, or just stay in steady state.
And I think it's all right. I think it's all right. It's very natural.
I'm okay. Everything is fine. Just the way it is. Some sort of I love the status quo.
Fear of unknown. Don't know what's there.
Okay, so
I think it's also sometimes agile cannot work in my organization. I know it will fail.
okay.
Agile will not work for us. We are a unique project.
Yeah, I mean, our company is different. Our environment is
problems are
different.
different.
I don't need to be agile.
Agile cannot work in my organization. I know for sure it's going to fail.
Okay.
So I just need to sit where I am. I don't need to do anything.
So
It is just a buzzword.
okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep agile, the word agile out for now. But for me, the takeaway is I'm okay the way I am. Things are running fine. This new thing is not going to work for me. Okay.
People come with a lot of egos. They don't want to change. Ego is
Sorry, you wanted to add something?
I was thinking.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think we have a plate full of what of resistance. Okay. In fact, actually had started out with a completely different thing, which we all know to be Ohm's law. And what struck me about it was that it's just resistance to flow. Okay, things are flowing, and when things flow, they move, and movement has a different kind of energy around it. Okay, and one of the thoughts I had was what we learned back in school in physics, and one always wondered how that current was able to flow on when resistance is least. So that was one thing, and there's constant attempt, at least in the industry, to figure out how to reduce drag. So to me, drag was another phrase that came to mind when we talk about resistance, and the ability to see these in organizations as well as within ourselves. Okay, so what did you all mean when you put these down? In what context did you put these out here? Sorry. Your own experiences. Okay. What else? Something that you see around you.
What you observe.
Okay. So these are all, you're saying, are observations, experiences. Anything else? Where is this coming from?
Myself.
Yourself. I'm glad one person said it.
Because I said a lot of things which we are
Okay.
What is that?
Myself,
past places.
or in this case, ourselves. Okay. Yeah. So, thank you. This was a good set of definitions for what is resistance. And so this in some sense led me to think about, what is So I tried looking this up, and every time I look this up, there's a plethora of definitions, and they're so classically structured, and they have so much format, and there's so much painstaking definition around them that I have resistance to perhaps even looking at it or accepting them as definitions. So I thought, let's look a bit at what does an organization mean to each one of us here. How would you define an organization?
A group of people gathering together for a common goal of making money.
Of?
Making money.
Okay.
Group of people gathering together to make money.
Is it gathering together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or working together. Working together for a common cause.
Common cause and
Common
Common cause.
purpose. Yeah.
Solve some common problem. Solve some problem.
To make be profitable at the end of it. Okay. Anything else? We have one here. What is an organization?
so these people are bound by certain policies, frameworks, rules.
Okay. And then
Hierarchy.
Must be willing to change and adapt, and rather than sticking to one common purpose which is defined at a previous stage. So it's more of a goal which is
okay. A goal for an organization. Okay.
must be willing to adapt and change as we go forward.
Okay. Can we park that a little bit for now? It'll come into the context Sorry, you were saying something?
Achieving the vision and mission of
So I said hierarchy.
You said hierarchy. Okay.
Not only that's focusing on hierarchy.
Okay.
So I think achieving mission and vision probably is a common purpose, right? Working towards a common goal and purpose.
a legal organized entity comprising of a group of people working with a profit objective.
Okay.
Group of people
So
trying to
organizations
achieve
have a different culture. They have a unique culture.
Okay.
group of people trying to achieve which an individual cannot.
Okay. Thank you.
Finally.
Yes.
Finally, somebody started.
No, but this shows something very interesting. Very interesting. So, what was it? Someone said, I heard this phrase coming from here.
Yeah, working towards meeting the customer needs.
Okay. So, anything else? So, I have a definition of an organization, and it's like an organism. So, it has a mind, it has a body, and there is energy. Okay. So, to me, it's this form which then, if it sits silent and does not, if it's just there, then the form will just dissolve or disintegrate, something like that, or will just allow itself to be acted upon by several forces, none of which, and will give up all control, will give up everything, will give up even the ability to respond, and then probably disintegrate and die someday. So how do you keep it living? How do you keep it moving? How do you keep it adapting? Which is something inherent in all of us as creatures and beings that belong to nature and the world at large, or the universe, whatever it is. Because, I mean, even if you look at it in the context of, let's say, our own solar system or galaxies or anything around us, everything is in a constant state of motion. And I mean, even if we look at our weather patterns, right, it's a way of another system trying to tell us that there is something needs to change, something needs to happen all the time. And what I find very interesting is that while we as humans, I think inherently in some way, shape or form will respond to those calls, we create the organization, we are the organization, and yet this is how we define it initially. There are constructs, there are frameworks, there are definitions which give us a sense of comfort. Okay, there's a structure around this. There are policies, there are frameworks, there are rules. Okay. To me, why is a rule there? Because of a fear of what if someone does this, or what if we don't get the desired business that we're looking for. Therefore, we'll constrain ourselves. Okay, we'll bind ourselves with these set of rules, and that again is another form of resistance, isn't it?
And it's natural, right?
It is. So that's the dichotomy of it, right? We feel we want to protect ourselves from all of these things, these fears, these insecurities. We feel that these frameworks will sort of protect us or will give us something to work towards. But actually, when it comes to it, when we need to respond, we respond very naturally, we respond beautifully. right? I mean, instinctively, if you see a child playing, okay, and if you just watch, you really don't have to tell them how to play. The play just happens. A play is created on the fly. It may seem illogical, not very methodical, it may seem random, but the outcome is obvious. The child or the children are enjoying themselves. They're completely comfortable with no structure, no organization. It's like even watching a group of kids in a sand pit or just in an open space. Suddenly, you know, mud becomes the most creative thing. Stones and sticks become even more creative. And then you see something happening out there. Okay, so there's a naturalness, and in fact there's an order to it. Even if you left kids for about 2 hours like that, they would just be. And perhaps, I think in the larger scheme of things, you see even more children today, if you left them a whole day like that, they'd be the happiest. Okay, so it's very interesting that this emerged, at least until probably here, that you know, there's these notions of an organization that we have, and I think all of us are in some sense responsible for it, because we all abide by it in some way, shape or form, right? Okay. So, you know, quick check here. How many people believe in the power of exercise? Okay. The power and benefits of exercise. So by exercise I mean, yeah, fitness. How many of you believe that it's something good for you? Okay. So how many people spend more than 90 minutes with exercise every day? Yes. Okay. And how difficult or how hard is it, Padma? If you can share.
It is hard. I mean, it doesn't come naturally.
Okay.
It is a push and finding excuse so that I am justifying why I am actually. Yesterday myself and Priyanka were having some interesting conversation. So I said, don't justify. If you want to do it, just go ahead and do it.
Do it. Okay.
Right? So we try to justify when we don't want to do a few things, and that happens with exercise, that happens with change, that happens with probably anything that our mind is not doing.
Okay. So what would you say are the two things that actually drives you to do it for 90 minutes every day? One or two things?
Obviously. Although
okay.
Definitely you know that it's very boring and it's very difficult, it's very pushy. The results are obvious, so it keeps you going.
Okay.
I think over a period of time you start seeing some kind of a joy that you cannot tell someone else about.
Okay.
It's a joy that you feel. You know you are highly energized because you did that. Maybe others are not able to feel. Sometimes you are able to spread it also.
Okay.
Actually, very interestingly, you brought up the word still, right? And just completely you can add after that. So, how many of you have seen this movie Karate Kid? Most of us, right?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. I must have seen it some 30 times. And then this guy, Jaden, tells him, so she's doing, there is a charm, snake charmer who's trying to charm the snake, and he first thinks that, oh, she's doing exactly what the snake is doing, and then Jackie Chan says, no, actually snake is following her. And he says, oh, and she's able to do it because she's very quiet. So he says, oh, she's able to do it by doing nothing. Then he says there is a lot of difference between doing nothing and being still.
Yes.
Right? So actually they are actually two different things. Then he takes some time to actually understand
what it means.
What is that he is trying to say.
Yeah.
So doing nothing and being still actually are two very different things when it comes to your mind.
Yeah, that's a nice analogy. I think that's a topic for a future thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely see that. Okay. So
Actually, I started exercising because I was in pain.
So you saw the benefit of it. Yeah. Okay. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is, as individuals, we each one have, just in the interest of time, we each one have one probably dominant resistance point or excuse, right? Can you imagine what the complexity is for an organization? comprising of so many individuals, and if each one is bringing an element of resistance, it's bound to manifest somewhere. And I think that came out in all of the points that you folks articulated in what we spoke about right in the beginning, right? So, in the whys, moving on to this part of, now if we look at an organization, we've talked about what is resistance, we've talked about, what is an organization, what kinds of resistance we have within ourselves. So why is an organization resistant? And what do we see happening?
Because some processes have been brought in from the management.
Okay. So can we say that the communication and vision are not clear? Okay, and things are just thrust down. So we'll say, why is an organization resistant, and what do we see because of this? So you said that
One is value is not seen.
no,
Okay.
it's like a consequence, but why is that value not seen?
Yeah, because it's a management push sometimes. Without knowing what is the problem.
When you say value not seen by everyone across the organization, or
Value is not visible to the value is not
you're not seeing value in a decision, or
value is not visible to the members. So they are not seeing that as a value.
Not all the required decisions are coming up.
value is not seen, so it could be
Reason not there.
No, somewhere the organization is not able to make the employees believe that this process will help them. For them, for the employees, any process the organization implements is extra work. That is the first mindset that comes up. The organization fails to make the employees believe that it is less work, more value.
let's say any initiative is equal to extra work. So this is the outcome. Why do you think that's happening?
Because they don't understand the why. Why is they actually doing the person?
The why is not clear. Why do you think the why is not clear?
So as individuals, we always want to be in the good side of the probability. So resistance also flows, from that insecurity.
So risk averse.
As species, we would always want to be on the good side of the probability. Now when you roll it up to an organization, these stakes get higher. So sometimes it is good for an organization's sake also, to maintain some resistance. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So there's.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Say risk averse.
I think
Err on the side of caution, probably.
So, evolution also, is based on a probabilistic model, We do things which have a higher probability of succeeding. We are following agile because there have been use cases. In this group also, if it is something that is not tried and tested, this group also would be resisting that. As individuals, we will be resisting that.
Why did we all come here? Why did we all come here?
It's a common nature.
No, we are resisting.
Maybe to discuss our insecurity.
Okay. So,
I think there could be 4-5 things. One is ghost of the past. Second is fear of failure.
okay.
Third could be what's in it for me or us. Fourth could be hopelessness. Fifth could be it's a very thoughtful decision.
Oh, that's a good thing, right? It's a very thoughtful decision.
I do resist.
Holders are working well, right?
That's okay.
Yes. So I think this also flips back to, but I think I think we're coming back to a lot of what we already spoke about earlier. But why do you think that there is no clarity in vision? Why do you think that, the why itself is not clear?
Because we don't take initiative to
Manager
find
doesn't
out.
want to explain it.
Okay.
He just asks us to do it.
And
Manager just wants his job to be done. He doesn't want to explain what is his intention. He never wants to share that. He's not transparent.
No.
And it is being pushed.
It's not mine. I think vision will be clear, but
So
vision is not there.
this simply do it and don't ask questions. What does it tell us?
We're not encouraged to ask questions.
So it's a culture perhaps of command and control, perhaps. Okay, things are pushed down. Okay.
Another one aspect of why is not clear is I am not passionate first of all.
Why am I not passionate?
Because whatever
I
I
just
am
want to do
doing,
my work and go.
So why do you just want to do your work and go? Where is it coming from?
Because they may be trying to change it or ask questions. They'll be pushed
Hopelessness.
down. Yeah.
and
Okay.
I see a organization in action for the suggestions that I give
Okay.
or ideas that we do. There's an action from the other side of it. That also makes me resistant for next.
So what?
It's not communicating.
If I can add to that, so see primarily what we're talking about is this is change, government change fundamentally, right? So this is messaging that is going down. So there are two aspects to it. One is the message itself, right? So what is the openness and transparency and honesty with which that's happening, right? Number one. Number two is how is that communication happening actually across all levels. So the message as well as the transmission of that message. So that's where the challenge lies, right? The communication.
And even when the decisions are introduced by a single person, dictatorship, one person says that the change should come.
Okay.
Without any problem.
It's a very hierarchical way of working. Whatever the top says, some of the other things that one also tends to notice in organizations is when talking to leaders, okay, thank you. When talking to leaders, they're not actively listening. And this is something that at least I'll very quickly share that as a coach I've experienced. You're trying to share something and then the person is saying, okay, so what next? What are you going to do about it? Not my problem. At the leadership, not my problem. Like, I think classically as agile coaches, we also see this, right? Leadership is beyond agile. Agile is for all the people down there, right? So, sorry?
We are agile already.
You're agile already. Absolutely. But yet all these symptoms prevail in the organization. So I think very quickly it came out beautifully well that people talked about culture, leadership, openness, communication, transparency, which all tie into also the fundamental values and the core values of agile, right? So what is it that coaches can do? Very quickly, I've been shown a time. What is it that coaches can do?
I think first thing that we can do is build it very quickly. Because taking the exercise is another right?
Yeah.
Do exercise,
I think first thing is get the management on board with this entire mission. You
Just
have to be
observe.
there.
Just observe.
Okay, what can coaches do?
Then only you can identify the cost.
Where do you start?
take a corner seat in the
Start
floor
with
and
the
then
leadership. Bring awareness about what is going on.
So, to just sort of frame some sort of a loose dialogue and discussion for today, I looked through a lot of material and really found too many diverse things. So what I did was I spoke to a handful of coaches across different kinds of organizations, some very large, some fairly small, 100, 150 people, some based on individual experiences and so on. But the common resounding feedback that I got was that the leadership accounts for 50% of all the resistance. And the rest is, things that percolate down. So what I also got from a lot of them is start with the leadership. But that's the hardest place to start, right? It's so hard because all the while, I mean, in at least 80-90% of the engagements that I've been involved with, Yeah, we'll come for that discussion. I mean, can you please come for the first kickoff and tell people why you're doing it? I don't need to be there. It's rare that we've had the leader of the organization, who's also the sponsor of the program, come and actually kick it off and tell people why, wherein it can be such a powerful motivator, for people. What else? What else can coaches do? So we'll come to the how coaches can connect with leadership probably as another session. This is what I'm thinking.
Pick up a team that is, has less skills and experience. Start a pilot.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing, because that's something that I also heard, and if coaches wish to contribute to this, please do share, is that create a groundswell from below. Typically organizations that have that are headed down the path of transformation or any kind of change, they have these think tanks, or you'll have an agile transformation office, and very often what we've discovered is people are really not sure what to do there. So I think as coaches we can create tremendous influence there by listening to them, by observing what they do and empowering them to carry these messages and help them be successful. I think that is something that I noted in my interviews with several coaches, and they came back and said that really helped. They have the ear of leadership, because in some sense the leadership has created that organization. So they do have a vested interest in seeing the success of that organization. And so try to create that groundswell, or try to create opportunities for what we call fertility conditions to get these things off the ground. So it's okay to start from the bottom up, okay?
So kind of related to what you're talking about is, so there are always individuals who are not necessarily, they could be across different levels, but they could fundamentally be pro-agile or pro-change. So you need to identify those. So basically create what are called agile champions. So who will be like provide the wind for your sails.
Absolutely, very well said.
Across levels, across functions, across departments. So that is very important. And these people will be like your, they'll ensure your success, right? So that's very important. Identify champions.
Yeah. So coaches can definitely influence and help these people here.
So one coach or a set of coaches cannot do it.
Yeah.
You need champions. These are people who are strongly embedded in their respective function or department, who have experience, who have knowledge of that environment, the process, the systems, right?
Yeah.
So somebody coming in the outside is always going to have a limited say.
Definitely, Priyank, we have topics for at least 3 sessions in terms of case studies and experience sharing.
I was thinking that we should just put it, and then when we do at the end, that's the usual voting and
Absolutely, would love to hear from all people here, because I just believe that there's so many instances and experiences. In fact, at some point in time, let's say 6 months or 1 year down the line, if people are willing to collaborate and create like a reference book or a playbook that's, we could distribute easily online, is that something that, we could do? Because there's so much of...
I wanted to add one point to what you said. What we did in Target was with this Scrum Master community of practice to identify champions.
Exactly.
So we saw passionate people, we identified who's actually taking the most and
So
take their message.
So it's basically you need to create the matrix, right? It's kind of like a SWOT analysis, right? Who are basically about influencing people. So you need to figure out who is in favor, who's not in favor, and comes with that plan.
Yeah, okay. So, thank you. I think we'll close for now. I just had a couple of, sorry? Yeah, the measuring. So, so I think, okay. So I think if each one of us can come up with this, we could, these are the few things we want to add to this list, we could, okay. I think each one of them is something that you will, if someone's already created something.
So are you thinking about subjective criteria or objective criteria?
See, I think when we look at, if we look at the objective of how do you measure this, right? The feeders into it can come from multiple directions, and depending on the context that you are working with. So I believe that there are multiple contexts here, and if each one could perhaps share the result of their experiments. I know I'm starting out with something new now, and perhaps in a couple of months later, we'll have something to share on these lines. I'd love it if we can come together and, one day maybe just set aside for sharing our experiences. And, whatever you're doing, start with the leadership. It begins with, how you started, who you started with, what happened. And it has to be a successive thing over a period of time. So I don't think there are any concrete measures per se, but the measure is, what did you start with, where did you land up? Okay,
Can you give some examples from your experience? Like, what have you measured in your experience as a resistance point or something like that? In your experience, can you give something?
Before I come to agile measuring the path, I think we have spoken about the organizational resistance. Organizational resistance to agility. What is that resisting to agility is what another one I will what is that?
So what do you mean by agility? I think we can take this a little offline in the interest of time.
Okay.
I purposefully kept the term agile out of this discussion because then there are two contexts. Agility is just your ability to respond to change, very simply, right? So we've talked about resistance for that purpose. We've seen the causes of resistance and where and all it manifests, how it manifests. So now that you have an understanding of the situation, as a coach, where would you start? What are the potential areas that you could start with? So one such example is, like I said, right, creating a groundswell. If you're working with a think tank or an agile transformation office, what's on their mind? They also want to make an impact, right? Eventually, at least in some of the engagements that I've been in, they bring along a coach for a while, and at some point in time, you kind of enable this organization, and then they become the custodians or the sentinels of agility across the organization. So that's a great place to start. What do you start with there? Who do you influence there, right? Because, and at that point in time, is you're trying to make them and that whole organization successful. So what are those measures? It goes by what they want, right? And then how do you work with them? So probably what you could share is, if you are doing something like that, what was that journey like? And what kind of resistance did you as a coach face? What did you try? What did you do differently? I think that will make for great experience sharing, as well as giving a sense of measure, is how did I do? What did I enable?
So I'm getting involved into coaching now in Schneider Electric, and they are starting the agile journey just very recently. Just one question.
Yeah.
Is that,
so I think this has to be the last question,
yeah,
because we are running out of
I
time.
have to tell my management that this is the resistance that you have as of now, and this is what I'm going to do to reduce the resistance and get them out of the agile journey. So that, how do I measure that resistance? That this
I
is
think
what
you can
have.
very quickly, again in the interest of time, we can have a longer conversation post this. I think is start getting to know them and start asking the right questions. For example, a classic one is, why agile, right? We don't want agile. I mean, he came up with it. We're all good here. Why are you introducing a new process? All these questions itself, the language, the questions, the responses that you get from people itself, I mean, that was something that I had wanted to cover, but then that's fine. Those are the symptoms that you look for. Oh, just one more thing I wanted to add in that context was continuous sensing. So how do you do this effectively as a coach? How do you sense what's going on? How do you get a pulse of what's there?
You have to be there with
Yes.
everything that they're doing. Right? So then only you'll get to
Yes,
know.
yes. So those are the points where you can note what they are resistant to. Like if you're working with a team, right? There's a technically very accomplished person, but purposefully not sharing any information, or very resistant to change. How, and you can see the impact of it on the team, right? So how, that's your resistance right there. What are you going to do then?
And how do I articulate that to my management? Like,
So you'll have to make points. In my observations of daily scrums and the ceremonies of scrum, as well as the retrospectives, here are my key observations.
just like that.
It starts from there. I mean, that's one place to start with. So very quickly, I think we're done.
What we
But if
do
we,
is,
yeah.
we will have a coffee break now. So we could continue to discuss informally because what I want to do is
Sir.
one, get into the time box more.
Yes.
So that we get used to we are supposed to be working